And you work with leaders from a range of different backgrounds, and you also speak. I mean, you mentioned this. I think you touched on it earlier. You speak on diversity and inclusion. You speak on women empowerment. What do you encounter most when you coach people that they struggle with when it comes to becoming a leader or succeeding as a leader? What do you see from the clients that you work with?
For a lot of the clients that come to me, so I work predominantly with women, and women from minoritized group, and there are a number of things. So externally, many women, including those from minoritized groups, still face what we call the glass ceiling, struggling to maneuver their careers. And in some cases, this is not a glass ceiling at all. It feels more like a concrete ceiling. And so breaking through can take an enormous amount of effort, both emotional, physical, and psychological effort. And it's not just about entering leadership, it's having the support to stay there. And so in coaching, it's often around, what are the strategies that women have to embrace in order to stay where they are, but not only stay, but to not only to survive, but it's about thriving. And one of the other challenges is what I call that tall poppy syndrome. So being the only one sometimes in that space. And the moment that you stand out, particularly when you're considered different, when you're the only, when you're the first, everything that you do is magnified. And so you can't afford to make a mistake, unlike your colleagues, because there's a sense that everybody knows who you are, even if they don't know your name. They'll find a way of describing you. And often leaders will tell me that they struggle with visibility. And I coach them through this because actually we can be visible for the wrong reasons. And what I really support women around and coach them around is how to be visible for the right reasons in the right ways, how to step into places and spaces with confidence without feeling ultra exposed, without that feeling of isolation. The other area is around ownership of their journey. So too often leaders feel that they're at the mercy of the system. They're, waiting for permission, waiting for somebody to perhaps tap them on that shoulder, and that tap is never going to come. Waiting for recognition, waiting for an opportunity. I hear about people saying, well, I'm waiting for my manager to tell me that I'm ready for that next move. And indeed, that often never arises. So, one of the most powerful shifts is when you realize that you can exist and you can create opportunities on your own terms rather than being pushed out, being burnt out, which is something I've lived and experienced. And so I encourage others to embrace. So, staying is not about survival. It's about strategy. It's about building allies, nurturing resilience, reminding yourself daily that actually you belong in the room. And so the struggles are real, breaking through, staying in a system that perhaps doesn't recognize or acknowledge your brilliance, but also knowing when to walk. And I remember being asked, why did you leave? You were an executive director, the first Black chief nurse in the West Midlands. And I thought long and hard about this. And the truth is, it felt like the room was never built to hold me without breaking me. It was built, it felt very much like to contain me, to diminish and to silence me. That's how I felt at the time. And I refused to shrink in. I wasn't going to let my mental health suffer any more than it did. And instead, I chose to rise, to shine, and to leave on my own terms. And I've continued to build and to journey from there. And I use that experience to help other women to rise, to shine above those obstacles, and to just shine in their brilliance.